She hasn't even been an adjunct professor at a college or university. Now, she served on the State Board of Education. Okay, she was a board member for 8 years, chair for 4 years of the Florida State Board of Education. I'm sorry, that ain't it, y'all. That's not it. So I can understand why Rattler Nation is angry and upset of what is going on. What's crazy is they're going to be paying a grossly unqualified person $300,000 more, $300,000 more than they were paying the previous president, Dr. Larry Robinson. That is absolutely insane. Show these board members. Show the board members. These are the board of trustees. And show the next one. 8 of these folks. Here's what's crazy. One of these people was literally installed on the board yesterday who still voted today. Who still voted today. Do you understand how insane that is? I don't know what these folks were thinking, but there's no doubt in my mind when the board had 3 esteemed candidates and they shoehorned Marva Johnson in at the last second, folks, it was already decided. It was already done. This cake was baked. They basically decided, Ron DeSantis said to his people, make my girl the president. And in the 8-4 vote, that is exactly what they did. It was extremely contentious today. There were folks who spoke at the hearing. And again, if you look at social media, if you look at all of the talk, all the chatter, I mean, it has been on fire. Folks talking. I have seen individuals make clear that they were going to, that they were pulling their money. There was one woman who said she had already included Florida A&M in her will. She was removing them. I can guarantee you are going to see a backlash. This is not going to sit well at all with the alumni at Florida A&M University. It was incredible just listening to the arguments that these people made as to why she should be the president. It was unbelievable, again, listening to them. The board chair weighed in with her thoughts. I just want to show some of what the board chair had to say. And also, again, this board hamstrung her. Go ahead.
I want to, again, thank you, fellow trustees, for this healthy dialogue and civil discourse and good governance. And thanks again to the Presidential Search Committee for getting us to this point, and Committee Chair Gibbons for leading the committee. Like each of you, I take my fiduciary duty very seriously. And this is a consequential decision that will shape the future of students and the success of those students, as well as the engagement level or lack thereof of faculty, staff, alumni, current and future donors, the Tallahassee community, the members of the industry cluster, and beyond. Yes, I'm a proud 2-time alumna of this illustrious institution. Yes, I was the 3rd female SGA president, Student Government Association, for those who are watching and who may not be familiar with the language and nuances of FAMU. Yes, I'm a Humphreys era Rattler. Yes, I married a Rattler. Yes, our daughter is a graduate of this institution and is duly employed by a Fortune 100 company because of the education she got from this institution. But it's not just my personal history that shapes my service to this board. And you're right, Trustee White, this is a thankless job, but I do it for the love of FAMU, selflessly. And there are two factors that have always guided every decision I make, every deliberation, and that is student success and the perpetuity of FAMU. I'm a huge believer that what gets measured gets done. And I welcome the performance-based funding model. I embrace the accountability plan. I am extremely proud of the progress that this university has made with this board, as well as with predecessors who have preceded the roles in which we now sit. That in our 137-year history, we have reached historic highs as it relates to four-year graduation rates, in spite of. That we have achieved the highest score of an 83 this year since the performance-based funding model has been established. That is something to be extremely proud of. But we do have a ways to go. We do need to continue to advocate for student success that will ensure engagement across every important stakeholder group and the perpetuity of the institution that so many of us love and cherish at this College of Love and Charity. There's no leader without followers. And having spent the entire week on campus, having participated in the interviews, having participated in each and every community forum with community members and alumni.
For years, China has been waging a war on America.
So, folks, we're playing, that's the interruption, we're playing it from the live stream that we had earlier. And so let me go back to that. So let's see if we can pick up those comments. Go ahead.
And having read through the summary of hundreds of stakeholder feedback, hundreds of inputs, having read up until maybe 1:30 a.m. this morning, every email, and I've responded to everyone that I could, and will respond to everyone if I have not yet. And if I've overlooked anyone, please forgive me. But I believe in the values of this institution: accountability, transparency, integrity, and inclusion. And your voice matters. And leaders can't lead if there's no one who is following. As Trustee Bryant mentioned, stakeholder groups across various constituencies have expressed deep concern and emotional sentiment around one of the four candidates. When Chair Lamb and I worked together to name the search committee, I wanted nothing more than a high integrity process that produced exceptional candidates. I'm a believer in God, and I believe in doing things in decency and in order. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I apologize to any finalist or semifinalist whose names were leaked due to a breach of confidentiality. What was circulated about one of the candidates, one of the finalists, prior to this week, in spite of that, I came into this week with an open mind, but I was left feeling empty. Many answers were hollow. Many statements were false. PharmD students don't require a dissertation to graduate from Florida A&M. And today, there are students from over 70 countries in our student body that are represented. That's not an aspiration, that's a fact for today. There was a lack of intellectual depth and a gap in cultural connection that was just painfully blatant. I also want to make a point about the range of compensation that this board approved today. In candidates' applications, they shared their salary expectations. Candidates Allen and Hector, the range was between $400,000 and $500,000. Finalist Johnson, $750,000 base plus additional performance-based compensation and commensurate benefits. And finalist Palm, negotiable. As a fiduciary, I don't think it's financially responsible to select a finalist whose qualifications pale in comparison to others and whose salary requirements we cannot afford. I want to go on the record to reflect the hypocrisy. I also have to go on the record as a Black woman. In an age of merit-based hiring decisions, how can one justify settling for a candidate who does not meet all of the position criteria, or turning a blind eye to exceptionally qualified candidates? As our beloved Joe Bullard would say, the difference is clear. With that, my vote today will be for the candidate who I believe has the executive presence, the institutional knowledge, the love for FAMU, a deep and abiding desire and proven ability to engage authentically with every stakeholder group, because every stakeholder group matters. One who will not shrink from the pressure or the history, the challenges or the gaps that have gotten us to this point. Because there are so many things that still we need to course correct and we need to close the gap for so that this institution will remain in perpetuity.
Zayla Bryant, the Florida A&M University student body president, she said this.
For the sins.
As a trustee who was chosen by the student body, supported by the alumni, taught and shaped by professors, faculty, and staff, and constantly receiving messages from aspirant potential rattlers. As a president who has made history on this campus, I'm a proud part of FAMU history, and I understand legacy and the importance of my position. The students have spoken. The alumni have spoken. Faculty and staff have spoken. History has its eyes on us, and I would be remiss if I were to take my position in vain and not vote to be the voice that has chosen me to be their voice. Out of the selection pool that we have seen this past week, I am unimpressed. And I am concerned gravely at the choices that were supposed to be the top picks for our beloved university. I'll take this time to show my support for candidate Dr. Donald Palm, because he is the only candidate out of all of my conversations and deliberations with students that I never had to question who his priority is. And as members of this board of trustees, people in leadership and people who care about education at its highest, I think it's important that we always understand that the reason why we are here, that the people who put money in our pockets, that the reason that we have any significance or influence in these chairs right now are the students. So understanding that that had to be a question is absolutely unacceptable. I won't speak on a specific candidate, but the amount of disrespect and disregard that I've seen this week from candidates was astonishing. And I hope to never see that or choose that for my beloved campus. Those are my final remarks.
Joining us right now is Rob Hardy, a graduate of Florida A&M University, prominent film director as well as producer. Rob, glad to have you here. Your classmate, alpha brother, Will Packer, was very, very vocal against this hire. And again, this is what I said at the outset. I'm taking MAGA off the table. I'm taking the GOP off the table. I am looking at the four candidates based upon their resume. And I showed on this show yesterday the resumes of all four candidates. And there is no way that if you had 100 people and they said, pick the most qualified out of these four, out of the 100, I believe 0 would pick Marva Johnson based upon her resume. This is not about gender. It's not about anything. This is fundamentally about qualifications to be the president of a 10,000 student university.
You know, you are absolutely right. And it's tough and it's unfortunate and it's disappointing, because our university deserves to be able to have somebody there that is qualified to lead a university of our caliber. Our motto is excellence with caring. So you need somebody that, in order to create that excellence, needs to care enough about the job to be able to have experience in the academic field, so that way we can grow our research departments, protect our programs. We need somebody that has the ability to understand how athletic works. So then that way we can expand our programs, recruit more students, leverage the relationships that we have, somebody that's able to inspire and support the faculty, so that way they feel comfortable and seen enough to be able to pour into our students, and ultimately understand that as a university, our responsibility is to the students. So then that way we can forge relationships and create programs so they can do internships, but most importantly, so they can grow, feel seen, and understand why it's important to go and represent FAMU, themselves, the state of Florida, and our people out in the world. And if you don't have those kind of perspectives, then it's going to be tough for the university to grow. It's going to be tough to recruit new people. It's going to be tough to create an institution that is able to build on the legacy that it's had. And I don't think that it's enough to be able to say, hey, I have relationships within the state from a business perspective. Then if you want to do that, then be a fundraising chair. Do something like that. Whoever sits at that seat is going to have the ear of the board, is going to have the ear of the governor. But we need somebody with the heart and perspective that's going to put FAMU and its students and alumni first. And unfortunately, it doesn't appear that that's what we have right now.
Let me say this here. And as someone, first of all, people need to understand. My first paid job was reporter at the Houston Defender in 1990. I covered the firing of James Douglas as university president. So for 35 years, I've covered numerous HBCU presidents being hired, fired, actions of the board. And one of the things that I often said about the gross dysfunction that used to take place with the Texas Southern University Board is that I would often say, and as a graduate of Texas A&M, who looks at the Texas A&M Board of Regents, that individuals who governors would choose to be on the board of TSU would not even be considered on the boards of the PWIs in Texas. So let's be real clear. There is no other institution in Florida where Marva Johnson would have been a finalist to be the president of the university. Not the University of Florida, not Florida State, not the University of Central Florida, not Florida Atlantic, not Florida International, not even a community college in Florida. She would not even make the cut. But what Ron DeSantis has decided is that it's perfectly fine to put a grossly unqualified person to lead that little black school in Tallahassee. That's literally what they're saying with this choice.
Well, listen, I know that you have a whole situation with hiring a new president at University of Florida. So you can use that as an example as far as the candidates that were available for that job and the resumes that came with that. So that speaks to everything that you're talking about. It'd be different if even the candidate that was chosen had the qualifications on paper, which they don't. At least that way, then it'd be a gray area as far as who's the best for the university, what are the real motivations, but it's not. It's a stark contrast between someone that has university experience, someone that has research experience, someone that has experience working with students, and someone that completely doesn't. You're absolutely right. In none of those other scenarios would this candidate have even been up for review. They would not have passed the first phase. Unfortunately, we don't know who the other people were that were in that initial pool, but given the group that moved forward, she clearly was not in the lead on paper as far as her experience. And on top of that, there was a really visceral response from the alumni, from the students, and from the faculty of not wanting this person to be the one that's in the top seat. But still, the board members voted her overwhelmingly into that position.
What is also strange to me is they purposely would not let the chair of the board negotiate the contract, which typically happens. And then what did they do? They chose somebody who actually had a conflict of interest. Nicole Washington, and I'm going to show because her photo needs to be seen. Nicole Washington is principal of Washington Education Strategies, a national education policy advisor. I don't know what the hell that even means. But they chose her to negotiate this salary, which is interesting because she and Marva Johnson were appointed by, she's a former Rick Scott aide who was appointed with Johnson to the State Constitution Committee in 2017. That's not who you want negotiating a contract.
Right.
That's your homegirl hooking you up. And that's exactly what happened here at a salary of $750,000. And I'm telling you, I know the cable industry well. Marva Johnson was not making, she was making between $200,000 and $250,000 and is telling that she would not disclose her salary. She's going to get paid triple what she was making as a lobbyist for Charter Communications.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And listen, you know, that's the actions speak for themselves. The fact that the person that was in that position, that was supposed to make that transition, that was supposed to negotiate that salary, that was supposed to negotiate what that package would look like, is not able to do that. Somebody that's related to the incoming president, not related by blood, but as far as relationship, is able to negotiate that. Those are all the, that gets added to the list of inconsistencies throughout this process that unfortunately we've been forced to deal with. And it's not because people haven't been galvanized to make our voices heard on the student side, on the faculty side, and on the alumni side. It's just because, unfortunately, the board is who makes all those decisions. And even though there was overwhelming support, and it was said on the call that there was overwhelming support for another specific candidate, Dr. Palm, I'll just be honest, was the name that was mentioned on the meeting. Those were largely ignored when it came down to the vote. And it's just really, it's really tough and disheartening, as an alum that cares for our university and that we want it to be the best that it can be. And we show up and we give money and we give time and we give resources because we know what the importance of that institution and institutions like that across the country are. And so it's really tough in this moment. It's really tough in this moment.
I take it you have been hearing from other alumni, and like perfect example, I'm going to show this here. I saw this tweet earlier, and this woman, Christy Tillman, she posted, "I'll be calling FAMU Foundation as soon as I get home to turn off my monthly gifts, and will be calling my attorney to remove the university as beneficiary from my estate immediately. This is unforgivable." She then said, confirming, "I spoke with the advancement office and my contributions have been turned off. I'm only being public with this because this is the best way I know how to register my dissatisfaction with the process and the results." And then she posted the email, the cancellation of her gift. Are you hearing from other alumni? And are they saying that they are going to withhold their money supporting Florida A&M because of this ghastly decision by this Board of Trustees?
I have heard that from several donors, from several influential alumni who give money and give resources. I absolutely have. I think the question is going to be, what do we do collectively to move FAMU forward in a positive direction? I think that remains to be seen, but because of where we are and more specifically how we got here, despite us using our voice, I think that has turned a lot of people off in this moment. And I think that FAMU as an institution is going to need its alums to be able to help transition it through these turbulent times.
Rob Hardy, Frat, I appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. It is certainly what normally the selection of a president is a jubilant time for many HBCUs, but certainly not today for Rattler Nation with this pick.
Hey, thanks for having me. And as always, I appreciate the work that you do.
All right, thanks a bunch. Folks, let me go to my panel. Joining me, Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show, joining us out of Detroit. Derek Jackson, Georgia State Representative, joining me out of Atlanta. And hanging out in the Black Star Network studios is Morgan Harper. Morgan, of course, talks about economic issues and all that good stuff. And let's just get right into it. And again, I need to preface this, Morgan, again. I know Marva Johnson. Mm-hmm. I've met her for over the years. She's a nice woman. Right. Okay? I know her because I was at TV1 since its inception, left in 2018, would often see her. She's a golfer. I've met her husband. I got a phone number in my phone. I texted her last week. But I'm sorry, if Marva hit me right now, I would say, Marva, you are grossly unqualified for this job, and you have no business being the president of not just an HBCU, of any university.
Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing such an attack on higher education and even beyond higher education, just expertise in general. And I think, I know you said you wanted to kind of disaggregate this from MAGA, but I mean, that is one of the pillars of the MAGA movement right now, is that higher education is suspicious. People who know something about a subject area that requires some knowledge are suspicious. And this does feel like it's aligned with that. I mean, I would say it's really sad to see that happen at one of our institutions, at an HBCU. But yeah, I mean, it's a real problem across the country, and it's hit FAMU.
the thing here, and the reason I said I'm divorcing it, because what happens here is, Michael, people respond differently. People go, you're being critical because it's DeSantis, he's a Republican, she's a black Republican. No, I'm taking it off the board. I'm saying the individual had no absolutely qualifications to be in the job. I mean, I'm sorry. If they picked me as a finalist, I'd be like, what the hell are y'all doing? I got no qualification. I'm sorry. Now, I don't care if you're a lobbyist. I don't care if you have a great relationship with Ron DeSantis. I don't care if you say, hey, you know what? I think I could come in and I can bring in I can get a lot of state funding for Florida A&M. Okay. Apply for the VP job of institutional advancement or in a donor area. But to be the president, no skill set, you've never worked in higher education, you've never worked in a university in any capacity whatsoever, and the other three people, their resumes blow you away. I'm sorry, this was rigged. This was all about setting her up for the job, and I feel sorry for the other three candidates because they got screwed.
Yeah, Roland, I do follow your line of thinking, saying set MAGA apart from this, and just let's look at the qualifications. And based upon the qualifications, I didn't see the show yesterday where you showed the resumes, but just listening to this, but also either last Friday or Friday before last, when you had Will Packer on, we talked about this as well, and how Marva Johnson is totally unqualified for this job. Now, I used to be a consultant to a local community college here in Detroit. I've taught at the community college, and I've known college presidents, community college as well as universities, and I have not come across a college president that did not have a PhD. Okay, usually it's a PhD in education or some related field or something. Now, there probably are some, there are 4,000 universities and colleges in America. There probably are some with no PhDs, but I haven't heard of many of them.
Okay, but here's the deal. Okay, you know what? I was on the phone with somebody and they said, it's a bunch of people with PhDs who should be president. Okay, gotcha. All right, so you said you didn't see it. Okay, this is Rondell Allen. Mm-hmm. Provost VP, Academic Affairs, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. Acting Vice President for Strategic Initiatives. Dean, School of Pharmacy and Health Professions. Associate Dean for Academic Quality. Associate Dean for Student Affairs at Xavier University. Assistant Dean for Program Assessment, Xavier University. Okay, let me go back. Now, let me go up here. Donald Palm, who is Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer, Florida A&M. Okay, let's see right here. Florida A&M, 10-year full professor, associate professor, assistant professor. Then you go to Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer at Florida A&M. Then you go down here to, let's go, Interim Vice President for Advancement and Executive Director of FAMU Foundation, Corporate Engagement Fundraising. Then you go down here, previously, Virginia State University, Executive Vice President and Provost, Vice President for Student Affairs, Vice President for Research. Then you go down here to, Associate Provost for Undergraduate Education, Office of Academic Affairs, Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs, Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs, all at Florida A&M. Then let's see here. Okay, so let's go to the third candidate. Again, and I just want people to understand, I'm just walking y'all down of the actual numbers. Gerald Hector, okay, Senior Vice President for Administration and Finance at the University of Central Florida. Look at this here, Senior VP for Administration and Finance. Then you go down here and then you see Morehouse, Executive Vice President, Chief Business Officer. Then you go down to Cornell University, Vice President for Financial Affairs and University Treasurer. Then you go down, Vice President for Financial Affairs. Then you go to Ithaca College, Vice President for Finance and Administration. Johnson C. Smith University, Vice President of Business and Finance. United Negro College Fund, Corporate Controller. And then let's see, Deloitte and Touche, a public accountant. Those are the resumes of the other three people. And
Right.
this is the resume of Marva Johnson. I'm sorry. It's
Right.
not even a conversation.
Exactly. So no background in higher education as well. No experience in higher education, as we talked about.
Other than being on the State Board of Education for 8 years and 4 of those years
Right.
was chair. That's it.
Yeah,
But actually
yeah.
working at an institution, none. Zero. Zilch.
And just to connect this, I know you want to try to disaggregate this from Governor Ron.
No. But let me be real clear, Michael, why I'm doing that. Because see, folk want to play the, you don't like MAGA Republican. No. They're the ones who are always talking about merit. They're the ones who are always trashing DEI. They're the ones who are always saying who's not qualified and who is qualified.
Right.
Boom.
So I agree with all that. But also we have to watch. We have to watch for the hook, because this could be their play to set her up for failure.
No.
To what? Okay.
No, that ain't it. This is, remember, in Florida, Ron DeSantis has been trying to take over the state institutions. He has been.
I agree.
This is about Republican Ron DeSantis saying, I'm now about to run Florida A&M. I got my president, I got my board, and I don't give a damn what y'all Negroes got to say. I got my own Negroes.
Oh, I know he has his own Negroes. I've been warning people he has his own Negroes. Yes, I agree with that too. Yes. Yeah, this goes back to when Ron DeSantis was running against Andrew Gillum. And I remember you had some Black Pan-Africanists in Florida that said they weren't going to vote for Andrew Gillum because he didn't have a Black agenda. And I said, Ron DeSantis has a Black agenda. He has an anti-Black agenda. And the anti-Black agenda is worse than not having a Black agenda at all. This is an example of what I was talking about.
Derek, you are a state representative in Georgia. I guarantee you that if one of the state schools in Georgia hired somebody this grossly unqualified, they will be hearing from the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus.
Not only will they be hearing from us, Roland, we will be protesting right now. Much like they're doing down in FAMU. It's my understanding that they've already gathered over 15,000 signatures. But in preparation for this topic tonight, I had to go and look up meritocracy and I love the way you got this frame and not focusing specifically on MAGA, although this is part of their agenda, right? I mean, Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation, he specifically put this into Project 2025, but we'll put that on the shelf. And I looked up, Roland, meritocracy, because that seems to be the challenge of the season that we're in. And meritocracy says it is built on the principle that individuals who demonstrate the requisite skills and abilities and qualification, as you've been highlighting, should be the ones to achieve the positions of power, trust, and responsibility. And she does not meet any of this definition. In fact, if we want to really expand this conversation, Roland, look at the federal government. We can't find out one individual as it relates to higher learning and qualifications that are duly qualified, starting with the person that sits in the Oval Office, starting with the person that's dismantling the Department of Education, and so on and so forth. So this is part of their plan, Roland. The question is really now, what's our next move? And I watched Will Packer and your show yesterday, and some of the things that the alumni doing. And as you just already stated, people are going to be pulling their money out. And as the president of a higher learning institution, your primary job is raising money. So is DeSantis going to give FAMU some money from the state treasury? I don't think so. And so we're just going to have to watch what they're going to do. But the real question this evening, Roland, is what is our next move? Because those 10,000 students at FAMU deserve and demand better.
I tell you what, Morgan, if I was a Florida A&M graduate, I'm disrupting, or a student, I'm disrupting everything. I'm making your job real uncomfortable.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I do think it's important to connect up to these larger trends. Because like at Ohio State, for example, right now, we have someone, do you know the highest education that the president of Ohio State has currently achieved?
What?
A BA. Took over for a PhD engineer who was a disruptor, who was bringing in change. Who is this guy? This is the guy that is going to co-sign on totally dismantling any DEI effort at the university, eliminating the Center for Student Belonging that a lot of Black students found to be their home base at their experience at Ohio State. So, yes, particularly at FAMU, we need to be aware of what's going on, but this is a national effort again. And yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with what Derek was saying about we need to be speaking out, but I don't know. There were people speaking out about what was happening at Ohio State, but it all comes back to political power, because how do these people get in place? It's because the governor wants it, the board of trustees. And so I think alums, I think you are right though, Derek, like alums staying engaged and organizing to make sure that you would continue to influence how these institutions are run is very important.
But also I want to remind people of something. Ron DeSantis was elected. He beat Andrew Gillum by 30,000 votes.
Yes.
We spend lots of time on this show talking about these things, and people are in an uproar today. But did they vote to keep Ron DeSantis out of the governor's mansion? See, it's real easy to be mad after the fact. It's real easy to be upset and man, you got signs and you want to protest and no. You're going to have to own some stuff. You're going to have to own it. See, if you one of those folks watching me right now and listening right now and set your ass at home, you part of the problem. If you mad about that thug in the Oval Office, raping and pillaging the country, and firing people left and right, violating the Constitution, selling the nation out, but you chose not to vote, you chose to stay at home, this on you.
Right.
There's a reason we got the shirt. There's a reason we sell the shirt. Don't blame me, I voted for the black woman. I can tell y'all right now, because I remember it's seared in my head. The Tallahassee Democrat ran a story after DeSantis beat Gillum. And they showed the turnout of the top 20 counties in Florida. And 1 through 11 were all red. You didn't get to number 12, and I believe it was Broward. That was at 57%. Miami-Dade was 54%. So it's a whole bunch of people who didn't do nothing. Remember that sister the New York Times talked to? Teacher's aide, 32 years old, in Milwaukee, who says, oh, I ain't vote because I thought he was going to win. Well, your ass not voting guaranteed he was going to win. So I hope the folk watching right now understand that the governor of a state controls state schools, can control the board of trustees, can control the hiring process, now can control who is going to be working in the administration. We warned y'all they were coming after HBCUs. This ain't just Florida. Look what Republicans are doing in Tennessee State. Yeah. I'm telling y'all, buckle up. This is going to continue. But if you choose to listen to the Simple Simon, all the loudmouths, Democrats ain't shit, Kamala ain't nothing, Kamala, she ain't black enough, cut the check, where my tangibles? But now y'all mad? I don't want to hear shit. Now, I hope that you so pissed off now that you actually gonna do something. I hope that you're now so pissed off that you say, oh, ain't no way in hell Ron DeSantis' wife gonna run for governor. I hope y'all pissed off about that settlement that happened in Florida where her foundation got all that money in that corrupt deal. So what you gonna do? Are you gonna be mad for a day? Are you gonna be a keyboard gangster on Twitter? Or are you going to mobilize and organize and turn and channel your outrage into action to vote these corrupt thugs out? Because y'all got to remember, they changed the rules in Florida. They got to do year-by-year contracts. She the president. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care if she's an AKA, if she can ski weed, all that stuff don't matter. I will be on that ass every single day at every single event and would never let up. Let's see what y'all gonna do, Rattlers.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.